A former federal prosecutor says there's no way to tell what the U.S. Attorney's Office may be onto, if anything, from the subpoenaed internal memos and other papers released by the governor's office yesterday. A review of the subpoenaed documents shows a Piscataway farm central to the probe was valued among the highest properties by a state program, although not high enough to satisfy the farm's owners. State House correspondent Jim Hooker has the story.
The subpoenaed records show the 64-acre Piscataway farm at the center of the federal corruption probe into the McGreevey administration was given the third highest value of more than 100 properties under consideration by a state panel that oversees the farmland preservation program. State-approved appraisers working for Middlesex County set the value at $46,700 an acre, or nearly $3 million. But the farm, owned by Mark Halper, linked in the investigation with McGreevey campaign fundraiser David Damiano, ranked dead last in its quality score among the 137 farms under consideration. State agriculture officials declined an on-camera interview to discuss the Halper case, but the executive director of the program, Greg Romano, said the application did not depart from normal procedures. He said the value of the acreage more reflects the Piscataway area's development pressures and rising land values than the low-quality score the farm received. The Halpers ultimately declined even the $3 million the state panel approved, saying developers had offered more than $10 million for the property. Nonetheless, federal investigators are reported to be intrigued by a $10,000 campaign donation the Halper family made to the Democratic State Committee as they battled local government efforts to condemn the land for open space. The papers include a letter from Halper that show the governor subsequently met with him on the issue. The State Democratic Committee was served with federal search warrants last week as part of the probe. Many more internal documents, some 500 pages in all, were released by the governor's office yesterday, many showing the office's top officials were in regular contact with Damiano, a Middlesex County recycler who'd raised more than $100,000 for the Democratic Party last year. Damiano sought appointments for associates on several non-paying boards and commissions, as well as a judgeship. Federal prosecutors also are looking into a deal Damiano reached with taxation officials over settlement of a $433,000 tax lien. A former assistant U.S. attorney says the paper trail left by administration officials indicate they believe their actions were above board.
It certainly would indicate that this was not corrupt activity in the eyes of the administration, because ordinarily, if you're a corrupt politician, you don't commit your corrupt activities to memo form. So if the governor's chief of staff or other members of his staff are committing this to the file, so to speak, where it could be discovered by the FBI years later, chances are their view of it is that it was business as usual and perfectly legal.
Klingeman, a former defense attorney for former Essex County Executive Jim Treffinger, who was convicted on corruption charges by the U.S. Attorney's Office last year, says campaign contributions have long bought access in New Jersey politics.
The fact of New Jersey politics is if you make campaign contributions, ordinarily the political leaders you support listen to you after they get elected. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a system that's accepted in this state, and that appears to be the situation here. Now, obviously, if Mr. Damiano was making contributions that were predicated on his getting this favor or that favor with respect to tax treatment or some other issue, then there's corruption. And the people who were receptive to his efforts will have some problems.
A governor's office spokesman says there has been no wrongdoing by the administration. The subpoenaed material, he says, demonstrates clearly that the administration has acted appropriately and professionally. Jim Hooker, NJN News, Trenton.
People who have worked closely with previous governors say it's not unusual for a contributor and casual friend like Damiano to pepper the governor's office with requests for favors or considerations. Michael Aaron has that story.
Hazel Gluck was a cabinet officer in the Kane administration.